Welcome to African Folktales by D. Elenas. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us in the comments where you're joining us from. Don't forget to turn on notifications so every story comes straight to you. The day Amina's parents died, the village did not cry with her. They watched her father collapsed in the cassava field just before noon, his hoe falling from his hands. By evening, fever burned through him like fire in dry grass. The women tried herbs. The men whispered prayers. Nothing worked. Before the moon rose, he was gone. Her mother lasted one night longer. She sat beside the body, rocking back and forth, her eyes hollow. At dawn, she pressed her palm to her chest and fell forward without a sound. Two graves were dug side by side before sunset. Amina was 14. She stood between the mounds of red earth, numb, her braids hanging loose. Her hair was long and thick, the one thing her mother always cared for. Hair carries dignity, her mother used to say. Guard it. By the next morning, whispers began. Too much death in one house. Someone said, bad luck follows that girl. Another replied, no one brought food. No one asked her to come inside. When she walked through the market, conversation stopped. Eyes followed her like shadows. Amina did not understand how love could vanish so fast. Be the third day, her uncle arrived, standing tall and serious. He did not look at the graves for long. He looked at the land instead. This place is not for you, he said. You are a child. You will go to your aunt's house. Amina nodded. Orphans do not argue. It was how her journey into humiliation began. Then her aunt, Mama Saad, lived in the next village, beyond the low hills. People feared her temper and avoided her compound unless necessary. She was known for sharp words and a hard heart. When Amina arrived with a small sack of clothes, Mama Saad smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. So this is the girl, she said slowly. The one trouble followed. Amina lowered her head. Good afternoon, Auntie. Mama Saad turned and walked away. You will earn your stay, she called over her shoulder. From that first night, Amina slept on a mat near the kitchen door. She woke before the rooster and slept after everyone else. Water fetching, firewood, sweeping, washing, nothing was ever enough. Her cousin, Zainab, did nothing. Zainab was 16 and spent her days oiling her skin and admiring herself. She laughed loudly when boys passed the compound. When she noticed Amina's hair, her laughter stopped. Why is it so long? Zainab asked one evening, touching it without permission. Amina pulled away. Your mother is dead, Zainab said flatly. Mama Saad noticed everything, especially the way people stared when Amina went to the stream. The way sellers smiled at her in the market. The way even elders greeted her. Kindly jealousy settled in that house like smoke each night. Amina whispered to herself, endure. Just endure. She did not know endurance has limits. The trouble truly began the day the drought started. Rains delayed, then disappeared. The river thinned. Crops bent and cracked under the sun. Tempers rose as quickly as hunger. On afternoon, a bag of money went missing from Mama Saad's room. A scream that followed shook the compound. She dragged Amina into the yard by her arm. Thief! She shouted. You think because you are pitied, you can steal. I did not take anything. Amina cried. Zainab stood nearby, silent, her eyes shining without waiting. Mama Saad picked up a stick and struck Amina's back. Once, twice, again. Neighbors watched but said nothing. No one defended an orphan. When the beating ended, Amina lay shaking in the dust that night. Mama Saad stared at Amina's hair as she slept, long, thick, untouched by suffering. An idea formed. Days later, women at the market began spreading rumors that girl brings misfortune. Ever since she came, rain stopped. The words traveled faster than truth. When a child fell sick and a goat died, the blame was decided on evening as the sun sank red. Mama Saad made her move. Sit, she ordered. Amina obeyed. Confused, Zainab brought out rusty scissors. Fear filled Amina's chest. No, Auntie, please. Mama Saad's face was stone. This ends today. The first cut sounded loud in the silent yard. With every snip, something precious fell to the ground. Amina did not scream. She felt herself breaking inside. By morning, the whole village knew. They called her the cursed orphan. Children laughed. Women pulled their wares away when she passed. At the stream, people left rather than share water with her. Her bald head burned under the sun. Weeks passed. The drought worsened. The river dried into cracked mud. Crops failed completely. Hunger crept into every home. Even Mama Saad's. Zainab stopped laughing. People began to remember things. How did her hair grow so fast before? Why did buyers always come when she sold fruit? Old men whispered near the shrine. A diviner was called. Sacrifices were made. Nothing changed at night. Amina visited her parents' graves. She knelt and cried quietly. "I have nothing left," she said. "If my life has meaning, show me." One night, she dreamed of her mother standing near flowing water. "Return what was taken," the voice said. "Give, and life will return." Amina woke with a strange combi morning. Thin strands of hair had returned to her head. By evening, more followed within days. Her hair grew again strong, healthy. Alive. People noticed fear replaced mockery. Amina did not wait, walked straight to the palace gate. "I can help the village," she said. "Thee laughed, thee would not laugh for long." The king agreed to listen. Only because desperation had made him tired, Amina spoke simply. "Give me 3 days." She went to the dry river and placed a small bundle of her cut hair into the cracked earth. At the village center, she buried another dot. She told no one why. The next morning, clouds gathered. By noon, rain fell. By evening, the river flowed again. Crops revived. Children ate. The village breathed. People ran to Amina's door. Mama Saad stood at the back, shaking. The king bowed his head. "Forgive us," he said. Amina looked at the faces that once turned away. "I forgive," she said quietly, but she did not forget her life had changed forever. The rain did not stop after the first day. It fell gently, then steadily, soaking the land that had been dry for weeks. The river swelled and sang again, and the air smelled fresh. People walked outside just to feel water on their skin. Amina stayed indoors. She sat quietly, combing her hair, her thoughts heavy. She did not feel proud. She felt tired. Power had found her, but pain still lived in her chest. By the 3rd day, the king sent messengers. "They want you at the palace," one said, bowing his head. At the palace square, the crowd was large. Faces that once showed hate now showed hope. The king stood and raised his staff. "This girl saved us," he announced. "From today, she will be protected." People clapped. Some cried. Mama Saad pushed forward, her wrapper loose, her voice trembling. "Forgive me, child," she said, falling to her knees. Amina looked down at her aunt. The silence stretched. "I forgive you," Amina said at last. "But forgiveness does not erase wounds," the crowd murmured. The king nodded slowly. "Wisdom speaks." That night, Amina was given a small room near the palace. For the first time since her parents died, she slept without fear. Protection brought attention, and attention brought pressure. Every problem now found its way to Amina: sick children, failed farms, broken families. People believed she had answers for everything. She listened, but she was careful. "I am not a god," she said often. "I only did what I was guided to do." The elders began to meet with her, asking questions about the drought. Some were respectful. Others tested her. Zainab came one evening, her eyes low. "People don't greet me anymore," she whispered. "They blame my mother and me." Amina said nothing. That same week, the rain slowed again. Not stopped but weaker. Fear returned quickly. Whispers rose. What if she takes her help away? What if she is angry? Amina felt the weight of expectation press on her chest. She walked back to her parents' graves and sat for hours. "I cannot carry this alone," she said softly. That night, she dreamed again. This time, her father spoke. "Leadership is service," he said. "Do not rule with fear. Teach them to stand." The next morning, Amina called the elders. "The village must work together," she said. "No more blaming. No more cruelty." Some nodded. Others looked away. Change, she knew, would not be easy. The real test came when another village sent messengers. Their river had dried. Their children were hungry. "Help us," they begged. "We heard what you did." The king turned to Amina. "What do you say?" The crowd waited. Amina's heart pounded. She remembered hunger, shame, silence. "I will help," she said. But not alone. She asked for volunteers, young men and women, to clean paths, dig channels, and repair old wells. Some complained. Others stepped forward. Mama Saad did not, but Zainab did. "I want to work," she said. Her voice smoothly traveled together. Amina followed the same ritual, but she explained nothing. She made the villagers work beside her. Within days, water returned. News spread fast, but not everyone was happy. Some leaders grew jealous. "She is becoming too important," they said. "People listened to her more than us." One evening, a stone was thrown at Amina's window. A note followed. "Remember where you came from." She folded it calmly. "I have not forgotten," she whispered to her. She realized, always invites resistance. The elders called a meeting without Amina. When she arrived uninvited, the room went silent. "We are concerned," one elder said carefully. "The village depends too much on you." Amina nodded. "That is why I want to teach, not control." She proposed training groups: water keepers, food planners, helpers for widows and orphans. Some elders agreed. Others did not. Mama Saad watched from a distance, her face tight. Hunger had humbled her, but pride still lived. One night, she tried to cut Amina's hair again while she slept. Zainab stopped her. "Enough," she said. "We almost destroyed her once." Mama Saad dropped the blade, shaking Dot by morning. The elders had decided Amina would lead the village council not as ruler, but as guide. The king approved when the announcement was made. People cheered. Amina stood quietly. She thought of the girl. She was the one beaten, shamed, and silenced. That girl was gone. In her place stood someone shaped by pain, but not ruled by it. The village changed slowly. Children laughed again. Food stores grew. The river paths were protected. People learned to prepare for dry seasons instead of waiting for miracles. Amina walked freely now, greeting everyone. Some still felt shame when they saw her. Mama Saad avoided her. One evening, Amina visited her aunt's house. "I came to say goodbye," she said. "I am moving closer to the river to help others." Mama Saad's eyes filled. "I was cruel," she said. "I was afraid." Amina nodded. "Fear does terrible things." As she left, the wind lifted her hair gently. Weeks later, when a new drought threatened the land, the villagers did not panic. They worked. They remembered when they spoke of Amina. They did not call her Kurset. They called her teacher. Life near the river suited Amina. She lived in a small clay house with a grass roof and a clear view of the water. Each morning, she woke early to check the channels and speak with the water keepers. She worked with her hands, just like everyone else. People noticed this. "She is not proud," they said. "She works like us." Trust grew slowly, but deeply. One afternoon, a young boy named Musa collapsed near the river bank. His skin was hot, and his breathing was weak. His mother cried and begged Amina for help. Amina knelt beside the boy. She remembered her father's fever, the helplessness, sent for herbs and clean water. She stayed until the boy's breathing eased. News spread quickly. Some villagers began calling her healer. Amina corrected them. "I only help where I can." But not everyone believed her. Humiliated. A group of elders from a distant clan arrived, their faces stern. "We heard of your power," they said. "Come and serve our people." Amina shook her head. "I serve where I belong." Their leader frowned. Power should not refuse duty. That night, Amina felt uneasy. She sensed that new challenges were coming, ones that kindness alone would not solve. The refusal angered the visiting elders. They returned home and spoke carelessly. Rumors spread that Amina was selfish, that she chose who deserved help. Soon, strangers arrived at the village asking questions. Some came with respect. Others came to test her. One man shouted in the square, "If she truly helps, let her end all hunger forever." The crowd grew restless. Amina stood firm. "I cannot replace responsibility," she said. "I can only guide it." That answer did not please everyone. At night, someone poisoned part of the river channel. Fish floated dead. By morning, panic followed. People looked at Amina with fear again. Did she allow this? Someone whispered. Amina felt the old sting of blame, sharp and familiar. Instead of anger, she gathered the villagers. She showed them where the poison entered and how to block it. Together, they cleaned the water. By evening, the river flowed clear again. Oh miracle! Just effort. Some were disappointed. Others understood. True change, Amina realized, did not come with applause. It came with patience. Mama Saad fell sick at the start of the Harmattan season. Her body weakened, and her voice lost its sharp edge. Zainab sent for Amina in secret. She calls her name at night. Zainab said Amina went. Woman who once ruled with fear now lay thin and small. When she saw Amina, tears slid down her face. "I wronged you," Mama Saad whispered. "I thought breaking you would lift my daughter." Amina sat beside her. "Pain does not create blessing," she said gently. Mama Saad closed her eyes. "I know. She died before dawn." Village waited to see what Amina would do. She arranged the burial herself. She stood beside the grave without anger. That act changed something. People spoke quietly among themselves. "She is strong." Zainab knelt before Amina afterward. "Teach me," she said. "I want to be better." Amina lifted her up. "Then begin by serving." Forgiveness, Amina learned, was not forgetting. It was choosing not to repeat harm. Leadership began to reshape the village. Young girls were taught skills instead of silence. Orphans were given land to farm together. Elders were required to listen. Not only speak, not all welcome. Thisah failed harvest in a nearby region brought thieves at night. Stores were broken into. Fear returned like a shadow. Some villagers demanded punishment. Tamina called a meeting. Hunger makes people desperate, she said. We must protect ourselves without losing our hearts. They organized guards. They shared food when thieves were caught. They were sent back with supplies and warnings. This angered some men. She is too soft, they said, but the attack stopped. The village became known as a place of fairness. Visitors came to learn. Amina taught simply. What you give attention to grows. One evening, as she watched the river reflect the moon, Amina touched her hair thoughtfully. It was no longer her identity, it was only a reminder. Years passed. Quiet lithe village survived to dry seasons without panic. Children born after the drought grew strong. Unaware of the old fair, Amina walked through the market freely now. Women greeted her warmly. Men listened when she spoke. Yon day, the king announced his retirement. I have ruled long, he said. The land needs steady hands. People already knew who they trusted. Amina stepped forward slowly. I will serve, she said, but not alone. A council was formed, balanced, careful. Farah, she took her place. Amina thought of the day her hair was cut and her dignity stripped. Smiled gently. Pain had not destroyed hair, it had prepared. Hair in the village that once humiliated her now stood. Because of her strength. Amina's role on the council brought new duties. Each morning, she met with farmers, traders, and water keepers. Decisions were slow, but they were fair. The village felt steadier than before. Yon afternoon, a messenger arrived from a distant settlement beyond the hills. His clothes were dusty, his voice urgent. Our wells have collapsed, he said. Our children are weak. We were told you would know what to do. Amina listened carefully. She asked questions about their land, their habits, and their preparations. She did not promise miracles. I will come, she said, but we will work together. Some council members objected. What if she leaves and our luck leaves with her? One asked. Amina looked at them calmly. Luck is not a person, she said. It is preparation. The journey took 2 days. When she arrived, she saw cracked earth and tired faces. She did not touch her hair. She touched the soil, tested the water paths, and spoke with elders. That night, she wrote plans by firelight. People watched her quietly for the first time. They saw help that looked like effort, not magic. Work began before sunrise. Men dug channels while women cleared old wells. Children carried stones and sang to keep their spirits high. Amina worked beside them, her hands blistered, her feet sore. Some whispered, disappointed. She did not even pray. One woman said. Amina heard but did not answer. On the 4th day, water began to rise slowly in the wells. Not enough to celebrate, but enough to hope. Cheers broke out. That night, a man confronted Amina. Why didn't you use your gift? He demanded. Amina met his eyes. Because gifts teach nothing if they replace effort. The man was silent. When the village finally had enough water, they offered Amina gifts: goats, cloth, beads. She accepted none. Teach your children, she said. That is payment. As she prepared to leave, an old woman held her hand. You gave us more than water, she said. You gave us dignity. Amina felt her chest warm. She returned home, knowing her role was changing again. Back home, trouble waited. To council members had been stirring unrest. They claimed Amina was weakening tradition and giving women too much voice. A meeting was called. Amina stood calmly as accusations were thrown like stones. She is turning the young ones against elders. She has forgotten the old ways. When silence returned, Amina spoke softly. Tradition should protect life, she said, not suffocate it. She reminded them of the drought, the hunger, the fear. She reminded them who was blamed first. The room grew quiet. An elder lowered his head. We were wrong before, he said. Let us not be wrong again. The 2 council members stepped back. That evening, Zainab joined Amina by the river. I see now, Zainab said. Power without kindness is empty. Amina smiled. Faint light. Change was still fragile, but it was real. The following season tested everything they had built. Trains came late. The sky stayed pale. Fear stirred, but did not take control. Plans were activated. Food stores opened carefully. Water was shared evenly. No one was chased away. Amina watched quietly as the village handled the challenge on its own. She felt proud, but also ready. On night, she dreamed of her parents again. They stood together, smiling. You have done well, her mother said. Now teach others to do the same. When Amina woke, she knew what must come next. She announced training gatherings for nearby villages. Knowledge would travel farther than she ever could. Some begged her not to leave. I am not leaving, she said. I am multiplying. The rains finally came. Soft and steady people danced not from relief alone, but from confidence. They had learned years later. Stories were told around fires. They spoke of a girl once beaten and shamed. A girl whose hair was cut in cruelty. A girl who did not answer pain with revenge. Children listened. Why died? She saved the village, they would say. Elders corrected them. She taught us to save ourselves. Amina, older now, sat by the river often. Her hair had silver threads, but it no longer defined her. When visitors asked about the past, she answered simply, I was humiliated, she said. But humiliation is not an ending. The village thrived not because of magic, but because it remembered its mistakes. And when new orphans arrived, they were welcome. No one cut their hair, no one cut their dignity. As time passed, Amina slowly stepped back from daily leadership. The council had learned well. They no longer waited for one voice before acting. That pleased her more than praise ever did. On afternoon, a young orphan girl arrived at the river settlement. Her clothes were torn, her eyes fearful. The villagers brought her to Amina. They say she brings bad luck, one man explained. Her parents died suddenly. Amina felt a familiar. She knelt and spoke gently. What is your name? Hawa, the girl whispered. Amina placed a cloth over her shoulders. You are safe here. Some villagers shifted uneasily, but no one argued. That night, Amina could not sleep. Memories rose. Uninvited graves, whispers, scissors flashing in the sun. She realized then that her story was no longer only hers. Next morning, she gathered the village children and elders together. She told them everything, not as a legend, but as truth. The cruelty, the silence, the mistake. They all shared. When she finished, no one spoke. Finally, an old woman said, we must do better. Amina nodded. That is all I ever wanted. Teaching became Amina's true work. She traveled less now, but people came to her. Young leaders, mothers, and elders sat under the shade trees to listen. She spoke plainly, never raising her voice. Power is not loud, she said. It is steady. Hawa stayed close to her, learning quickly. She helped with records, water planning, and caring for the sick. And day, Hawa asked softly, did you hate them for what they did? Amina thought for a long moment. I was angry, she said. But hatred would have chained me to that pain. The girl nodded slowly. That season, the harvest was the best in many years. Food was stored properly. No one hoarded. No one starved. At the celebration, the council honored Amina publicly. They offered land, gifts, and titles. Refused most of it. Use it for schools, she said. For children without parents, the crowd agreed. Amina watched the sunset, knowing her greatest work was not the water she restored, but the thinking she changed. Years later, the village faced another test. A traveling trader spread false stories, claiming Amina's rise came from dark practices. Fear stirred, as it once had, but this time, the people reacted differently. They questioned him. They asked for proof. They remembered when the trader fled. The village remained calm. Amina said nothing that night. She walked alone to the river. The water reflected the stars. Steady and quiet. She touched her hair, now streaked with gray, and smiled. Faint light had never been the source. Seat had only been the symbol. Real strength was choice, choosing kindness when cruelty was easy. Next morning, she announced her full retirement. Gasps followed. You have already given enough, she said. Now you must give. She handed leadership fully to the council, and young teacher Shawa stood beside her. Red-eyed village did not beg this timid. The understood. Amina lived her later years peacefully. She gardened, taught children stories, and listened more than she spoke. Visitors still came, but fewer sought miracles. Most sought Guidanchoni Day. Hawa returned from a distant village with news. They welcomed an orphan girl today, she said, smiling. They said they learned from us. Amina closed her eyes. That night, she dreamed of her parents one last time. They stood beside flowing water, their faces calm. You turned pain into shelter, her mother said when Amina passed quietly. Weeks later, the village mourned deeply, but not with fur. They buried her near the river. No songs of magic were sung. Only gratitude. Children grew up hearing her story, not as a tale of hair or miracles, but as a lesson of dignity. They remembered long after Amina was gone. Strangers still asked about the village by the river. They asked how it survived droughts, hunger, and further. Elders answered simply once. We humiliated an orphan girl, they said. We cut her hair and her pride. The visitors leaned and we learned to late. The elders continued that dignity is life, And when we begged for help, she did not destroy us. She taught us. At the riverbank, children played freely. Orphans laughed without fear. No one was blamed for Lost Village was not perfect, but it was awakened. That was Amina's true legacy.